Hi, it's Manny here again with Ricoma. So in one of our previous episodes, I went over the different advantages of actually utilizing the 8-in-1 hoop set. And in that video, we got a lot of feedback, particularly on how to actually embroider on the pocket of a shirt. And that's the reason why today, that's exactly what we're gonna be covering. So laid out here in front of me, I have the various different hoop sizes that we can utilize. Of course, I have a shirt with a pocket and the adhesive backing that I'm going to need. So to get started, first things first is that obviously we're going to need to pick the proper hoop. Obviously, since it's a pocket, of course, it's going to be utilizing one of the smaller rectangular hoops. And so as I can see, I can slide it in here and it's going to fit perfectly just fine. I have a lot of wiggle room. Now, when it comes to embroidering with the 8-in-1 hoop set, with pockets in particular, your limitations are going to come down to the size of the shirt, or essentially the pocket itself. Because essentially we need to have enough room in there for not only the pocket to fit, but also the sewing arm as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and place my adhesive backing and actually place the shirt afterwards. Alright, so for starters, we'll grab our adhesive backing. And so as we mentioned before, we want to remember that we want to have our adhesive side of the frame facing up, because that's the side that the shirt will have to press onto. And then any excess on the sides, you can actually just rip it off. Okay. Now, once we have our adhesive backing on our frame itself, we're going to go ahead and actually slot in our device. So I've already have my one frame in place. It's just essentially slotting it in to position. Alright, so we've already placed the frame. Now it comes time to choosing our design and choosing our frame. If you recall, in our previous video when we went over the 8-in-1 hoop, I actually mentioned that when it comes to choosing your hoop, you're actually going to have to go with the option other. So we're going to go into design set, and when choosing our frame, since it's not a traditional hoop, we're just going to choose other to get a general spacing. Once I've chosen other, what we're going to do now is we're going to center our design within the frame itself. Now, this part's very important. Essentially, on a shirt, traditionally, you usually just embroider the top part, perhaps maybe like the pocket of a doctor with Dr. such and such. Rarely, you may embroider down here, but if that's something you want to do, essentially is just making sure that you give yourself the amount of room that you're going to need to cover that area. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So since I'm going to embroider just the top part of this pocket, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sort of just move it at the very edge so that I won't have to push the shirt all the way in. Because remember, you're going to be limited by the amount of space that you have in the pocket itself. Now, before I actually place the shirt on the frame itself, I'm going to go ahead and trace my design. And the reason why I want to actually trace it without putting the shirt on is because when you do the initial trace, it actually goes at a much faster speed and it moves much more vigorously. And the problem with that is that when we place the shirt, you're going to see that it's a very tight fit just because it's generally a small pocket. And I don't want it jerking the shirt off in any way. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this design right now. I've already pretty much got it centered. And when I go into... Alright, so I clearly saw that it didn't run into any of the borders. However, that was very quickly and it moved fairly a lot, which would have been bad if the shirt was on. So now I'm actually going to place the shirt within it. Now, when it comes to actually placing the shirt, this is the tricky part. What you're going to want to do first is actually get the top part of the shirt onto the frame itself while maintaining the pocket open. And then this is the part where you're going to be limited to the size of the pocket. The smaller the pocket, the tighter this fit is going to be. So as I pull up on the top part, I got to get the right angle to make sure that the bottom portion is going in as well. I should be good right about here because essentially we're just embroidering this very top of the pocket. If you wanted to get any deeper on the pocket, or lower I should say, as long as you can continue to push the shirt up, then you should be good. But again, you're going to be limited to the size of the pocket itself, so you may have a harder time with smaller pockets. So now that I have it in place where I want it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and do the contour trace. And the reason why I want to do that is because it's going to go much more slower and it's not going to jerk the shirt as much because this is a very tight fit. So when I go ahead and do the contour trace, okay, I was able to see that it was within the range that I want my design on, but without jerking it too much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. Alright, so here we have our finished product. I'm going to go ahead and remove the frame. Once it's out, we'll go ahead and take off our 8-in-1 hoop. And as you can see, there you have it. Nice clean finish with Ricoma on top of the pocket. Now, speaking of clean, one thing I want to mention to you guys is that whenever you are placing the pocket into the hoop, if you've previously or recently oiled the rotary area by any chance, just make sure that you have it nice and clean, because chances are that you may get your garment dirty since you're actually being so close to the sewing arm itself, especially on white clothing such as this shirt itself. I want to thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to our channel. Feel free to comment if you have any questions regarding this video. I also want to invite you to join our Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery, where you can join other embroiderers and apparel decorators such as yourself. In it, you can ask questions and share tips and knowledge among one another. And for any additional information about our products or services, you can visit www.ricoma.us. You'll find all these links I mentioned in the description below. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.